Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and we have some Prince Andrew breaking news. All right, so everybody knows about the disastrous interview that Prince Andrew gave recently. Everybody knows that it was an absolute and utter train wreck. What nobody expected was this. Prince Andrew is being forced to step away from public life. So that is the first domino to fall, folks, in this whole entire sordid game that they're playing. The first big domino to go. Now, all that's left is for him to speak under oath, which he supposedly said he's willing to do. So the FBI needs to get out there. They need to get him under oath. They need to talk to him. And either A, he needs to be, cleared of charges, or B, he needs to face justice. At the very least, for his enabling of Jeffrey Epstein, for his cavorting with Jeffrey Epstein, he is going to live the rest of his life in utter and absolute disgrace. And folks, a lot of that has to do with your dogged chasing of this, right? Keeping up on it, calling your senators, etc., making sure it stays in the news, sharing all the information about this case. If it wasn't for the public interest in this case and for the public outcry, we wouldn't even be at this point. Nobody ever thought that this prince would be stepping down in disgrace like this. Everyone figured they'd close the ranks and they'd protect him like they always do. Well, not this time, because like I said earlier, a million times earlier, the straw that breaks the camel's back is hurting children. All right? And if you were involved in that, you're as big of a scumbag as Epstein. If you enabled it, you're just as bad. If you kept your mouth shut, you're enabling it, you're just as bad. So I think this is a fantastic first step for him to step back and be forced to step back by the Queen. Let's jump into this article and see what the Daily Mail, who has been a pretty good source of this Andrew stuff for the whole duration, has to say. Prince Andrew cast out. How distraught Duke of York was summoned to Buckingham Palace by Queen and Prince Charles and told to step down from royal life amid fallout from his friendship with pedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew was forced to quit royal duties last night after a dramatic intervention by the Queen and the Prince of Wales. They took decisive action to contain the fallout from the Duke's disastrous TV interview about his friendship with a pedophile billionaire. The interview triggered days of catastrophic headlines and caused a string of businesses and charities to desert him. Following lengthy discussions with Charles, who was touring New Zealand, the Queen summoned Andrew to Buckingham Palace and told him to step down. So the Queen and the future king got together and they forced Andrew out. Done, see ya, you're not allowed in public life anymore, you're living in disgrace. All right, here's a statement by His Royal Highness, the Duke of York. It has become clear to me over the last few days that the circumstances relating to my former association with Jeffrey Epstein has become a major disruption to my family's work and the valuable work going on in the many organizations and charities that I am proud to support. Therefore, I have asked Her Majesty if I may step back from public duties for the foreseeable future, and she has given her permission. Yeah, I don't think you asked for permission. I think she told you, sonny boy. I continue to unequivocally regret my ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein. His suicide, allegedly, has left many unanswered questions, especially for his victims, and I deeply sympathize with everyone who has been affected and wants some form of closure. I can only hope that, in time, they will be able to rebuild their lives. Of course, I am willing to help any appropriate law enforcement agency with their investigations if required. Oh, it's going to be required, buddy. You better lawyer up. You better go get yourself Dershowitz because maybe he'll get you another sweetheart deal. If he's not in the clink himself, what are you guys going to do? Who are you going to turn to? Maybe Lisa Bloom will defend all of you. The devastated prince, who was eighth in line to the throne, was told he could write his own statement in an attempt to allow him to bow out gracefully. Soak it up, ladies and gentlemen, soak it up. All right, we've been following this case. I know, and it's everybody's different, but on this podcast for the last 3 months, about 3 months, and we've been hammering Andrew on a regular basis because it needed to be done. And finally, there's some movement. Finally, we can say to ourselves, all right, maybe this is working. Maybe we are having a little bit of an effect. And even if it's just a little bit of an effect, right, each one of us has. If all of us around the whole entire planet, not just on this podcast, but everybody who's interested in this story, if everybody together is pushing for answers, they're gonna be forced to give us answers. A royal insider said, when the Queen and the Prince of Wales stand firm together, they are a pretty formidable combination in terms of getting things done. Well, yeah, the Queen, and the Crown Prince. So yeah, you would think, right? They could do whatever the bleep they want. After informing the wider royal family first, Buckingham Palace put out a statement shortly before 6 p.m. on the distraught prince's behalf, saying, I read you guys that. All right. It is unprecedented for a senior royal to be asked to stand down in this way and illustrates how damaging Andrew's BBC Newsnight interview was for himself and the monarchy. All right, hold on. Hit the brakes. It's not the interview that was damaging. It was his behavior that's damaging. The interview just shined the light and pulled the curtain back on his depravity. All right? So let's be clear. The interview was necessary. The interview was needed. And the interview was a long time coming. And now, just look at this and compare what BBC did and what ABC did. They squashed this story because they wanted access to these royals. BBC and Mateless just toppled a royal. And they're in England, and ABC's in America. So who's ABC truly looking out for, folks? All right? Think about that for a minute. The Mail can reveal that he even planned to fly to Bahrain this Saturday for a Pitch Palace charity initiative, despite the furor over the last Saturday's television ordeal. In other developments, more than 20 major companies and charities, including Barclays, KPMG, and the English National Ballet, distanced themselves from Andrew and the initiatives he has been backing. Well, you know what? We could easily look into each one of these companies, and I am sure when we pull the curtain back, they're not squeaky clean either. I am sure they have a few sickos running around in their corridors as well. A Mail investigation called into question his alibi over a trip to New York during which Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Roberts claims they had sex. A letter from Buckingham Palace cast doubt on the Duke of York's claim about when he first met the tycoon who killed himself in jail in August. Lawyers for Epstein's victims called for Andrew to sit down with FBI agents and give an in-depth interview under oath. The 59-year-old prince and his team, led by Private Secretary Amanda Thirsk, knew speaking publicly about the Epstein scandal was a huge gamble. Oh yeah, that's betting the New York Jets against the New England Patriots or the Jets on the money line. That's the sort of gamble you're taking there. But they felt backed into a corner following the sex offender's suicide, allegedly, and repeated claims by Miss Roberts that she was trafficked by her abuser to have sex with the Queen's son on 3 occasions, the first when she was just 17. Well, what is she supposed to do? Keep quiet? That's what you guys wanted her to do forever. That's what ABC obviously wanted her to do as well. Oh, keep quiet. Who's Jeffrey Epstein? This is a stupid story. Boy, do you idiots at ABC have egg on your face now, huh? What a bunch of morons. Who's making the decisions over there? Disney. Guys, you guys need to sell off your news portion of the company. You really need this in your life? Stick to making shows like The Mandalorian and cartoons. Miss Thirsk and her team hoped that by choosing such a formidable interviewer as Emily Maitlis, the general public would be convinced of his innocence and honesty. Instead, millions of viewers were left astonished by Andrew's attempt to explain his relationship with Epstein, with his interview only adding to the doubts over his account of their time together. Well, yeah, if you're going to have that sort of interview, you better have all your ducks in a row, your facts locked in, and you better be innocent. If not, keep your mouth shut. We all know that you're a dullard anyway, Prince Andrew. Who did you think you were going to fool? You're not fooling anybody. You're the George Bush of the royal family. The Duke was lambasted for his decision to fly to the U.S. and stay with Epstein for 4 days after his release from prison for sexual offenses against children. He said he had to tell the financier, pedophile, in person that he could no longer have anything to do with him. It was the honorable thing to do. Yeah, all right, we get it. We get it. You are the epitome of honor, right? You are, it is just, you are beyond reproach with your honor. You're Ned Stark. He was roundly criticized for failing to show any remorse for Epstein's dozens of female victims. As the backlash grew, supporters of his key public initiatives, such as the entrepreneurial scheme, Pitch Palace, began to openly withdraw their support. Several charities of which he was a patron also tried to distance themselves from him. Desperate to move on, officials reiterated their hope that once the dust had settled, the public would see Andrew as an honest, decent, and honorable man. Whoo, talk about a big mistake. Who was making those decisions? Miss Thirsk? Oh yeah, you better get that resume ready. You're going to be looking for a new job very, very soon. It was then that the Queen decided to take action. She asked Andrew to come into the palace from his home, Royal Lodge in Windsor, to see her in between official duties, including audiences with ambassadors and a public event with Sir David Attenborough. An insider told the Mail, there was a very definite feeling that everyone needed to think cool, calm, and sensibly. There's been no sense of fury. The Queen and the senior royals were very much looking at how the furor was impacting on the general election, on the institution of the monarchy at a deeper level. So again, it's not like the monarchy is trying to hold him responsible because they think he did something wrong. It's because they want to fix their image. They want their image to be right. And that's why I don't understand how any American could be fascinated with these royals. They're just weird people. It's a bygone era, all right? There's no more kings. There's no more queens. There is only the individual, all right? And people need to remember that the biggest minority is the individual, right? And if we don't respect individual rights, how do we respect collective rights? And these royals, they don't respect any rights except their own. The Queen has shown very decisive leadership, and the difference is that she is energized by having the Prince of Wales with her. In his statement, Andrew said he unequivocally regretted his association with Epstein, sympathized with his victims, and would help any investigation. A royal aide confirmed the prince would be temporarily stepping back from his duties. No time period was specified. He will, however, continue to attend events as a member of the royal family, such as the Christmas Day service at Sandringham and Trooping the Colour. Okay, whatever wacky, weird stuff that is. As he is not publicly funded, Andrew receives an undisclosed stipend from the Queen, believed to be in the region of £250,000. His diminished role is expected to lead to redundancies in his private office. It is likely that other members of the royal family will take on some of the prince's patronages and charitable duties. It comes after the Duke today was seen for the first time since his disastrous BBC Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis on Saturday about Epstein, which caused a furious public backlash. He was forced to cancel a visit to the flood-hit towns of Fishlake and Stainforth near Doncaster, South Yorkshire, yesterday. A source said his trip, which was not publicized in advance, was scrapped as a result of the fallout. The Duke had told Maitlis in his appearance that he did not have sex with Virginia Roberts, who says she slept with him then when she was 17. Miss Roberts, now Miss Joffrey, was trafficked by Epstein, and pictures show the prince stood with her in 2001. Prince Andrew told Maitlis he had met Epstein through the since-disgraced financier's girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, back in 1999, and it has been suggested that it is her London house in which he was pictured with Roberts. But a letter written to the Times newspaper in March 2011 by the Duke's then private secretary, Alistair Watson, suggests he may have met Epstein years earlier. Major Watson, who spent 9 years in the role of Andrew's private secretary, was writing to the newspaper countering claims the Duke was friends with Saif Gaddafi. But in a now key passage, he wrote, there has been widespread comment on the Duke's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The Duke has known Mr. Epstein since being introduced to him in the early 1990s, completely blowing up what Andrew had to say. The insinuations and innuendos that have been made in relation to the Duke are without foundation. The Duke denied he slept with Miss Roberts on 3 separate occasions, twice while she was underage, saying one encounter in 2001 did not happen, as he spent the day with his daughter, Princess Beatrice, taking her to Pizza Express and Woking for a party. The same alleged sexual liaison, which the American said began with the royal sweating heavily as they danced at London nightclub Tramp, was factually wrong, as the Duke said he had a medical condition at the time, which meant he did not sweat. He cast doubt on the authenticity of the picture that appears to be Andrew with his arm around the waist of Miss Roberts when she was a teenager. 5 multi-million-pound businesses have cut ties with Prince Andrew's Dragon's Den-inspired charity, and 3 more are now considering dumping the crisis-hit royal since the interview aired. The University of Huddersfield is the only organization to vocally back their chancellor, but this has sparked insurrection among students who are lobbying Andrew to resign, with a Not My Chancellor campaign on campus and a major vote later this week. And London Metropolitan University told Mail Online this afternoon they will review whether to keep Andrew as a patron at its next Board of Governors meeting on Tuesday, November 26th. All right, now here's a quick timeline that they added in this article as well that goes through the supposed time when Andrew first met Epstein, the time that he's on record saying that they first became friends, whereas we know that's challenged now from what Major Watson had to say. 1999. Andrew first meets Epstein, reportedly introduced through his friendship with Maxwell, the daughter of newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell. Andrew welcomes Epstein to the Queen's private Scottish retreat in Aberdeenshire. Andrew later says he sees Epstein infrequently, adding probably no more than only once or twice a year. 2000. Andrew and Miss Maxwell are seen on holiday with Epstein at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida. Epstein and Miss Maxwell attend a party at Windsor Castle hosted by the Queen to mark Andrew's 40th birthday, the Princess's Royal 50th, the Queen Mother's 100th, and Princess Margaret's 70th. 2001. Virginia Roberts claims to have had sex with Andrew 3 times, including one orgy, with the first encounter allegedly taking place in Miss Maxwell's London townhouse. Miss Roberts claims to have had sex with Andrew on 2 more occasions, at Epstein's New York home and at an orgy on his private island in the Caribbean. 2008. Epstein admits prostituting minors and is sentenced to 18 months in prison. All right, so up until 2008, Andrew could have had a legitimate argument, maybe. Hey, look, I didn't know what he was up to. We probably wouldn't believe him anyway, but that's neither here nor there. He would have at least had a leg to stand on, right? I didn't know what he was up to. I mean, you really can't blame everybody for what Epstein did, right? Well, I would say, unless of course you're named as one of the people who did this to one of the accusers. If that's the case, well, then you really have no leg to stand on at all. So you should probably just shut up and hope that you don't get caught up in the whirlwind, or be a man and step up to the plate and tell the whole story, blow it out. Were you blackmailed by Epstein, Prince Andrew? Did you get caught up in that blackmail scheme? Is that how you ended up with these girls? Why don't you just tell the truth? 2010. Epstein is released from jail. Yeah, okay, yeah, because he really did hard time. He was at Leavenworth. Andrew is photographed with the disgraced Epstein in New York Central Park. Footage emerges years later, reportedly shot on December 6, 2010, showing him inside Epstein's Manhattan mansion, from where he is seen looking out from a large door of the property, waving a woman goodbye after Epstein leaves to get into a chauffeur-driven car. So Epstein leaves, and they're good enough friends that he leaves Andrew there alone by himself to do whatever he wants. 2011. The Duke quits his role as UK trade envoy after the fallout from the Central Park photos. But he kept all the other stuff, obviously. Kept that gravy train rolling, right? Kept all those public appearances rolling, right? Kept on hanging out with all those rich and powerful people while girls like Virginia Roberts were defamed and called all sorts of disgusting names. Glad you were having a great life, Duke. 2015. Buckingham Palace denies Andrew has committed any impropriety after he is named in U.S. court documents related to Epstein. a woman, later named in reports as Miss Roberts, alleges in papers filed in Florida that she was forced to have sex with Andrew when she was 17, which is under the age of consent in the state. The word is forced, all right? It makes it doubly heinous that she was underage. But any woman who's forced into a sexual act, I mean, come on, man. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Andrew, in his first public engagement since he was embroiled in the allegations, responds saying, "Firstly, I think I must and want, for the record, to refer to the events that have taken place in the last few weeks. I just wish to reiterate and to reaffirm the statements that have already been made on my behalf by Buckingham Palace. In April, the claims against Andrew were struck from U.S. civil court records following a federal judge's ruling." Yeah, I wonder who put their thumb on that federal judge. The ABC was so scared to run a story about the royals as well. So who else are they putting the thumb to? What do they know about what happened to Epstein in that prison cell? Has anyone talked about that yet? What do the royals know? 2019. Newly released legal documents show that Johanna Schoberg, another alleged Epstein victim, claimed Andrew touched her breast while sitting on a couch inside the U.S. billionaire's Manhattan apartment in 2001. The same year, mind you, that he allegedly raped Roberts. Buckingham Palace said the allegations are categorically untrue. Epstein is found dead in his jail cell on August 10th, having killed himself, allegedly, after being charged with sex trafficking. Later that month, a pilot on Epstein's private jet claims Andrew was a passenger on past flights with the financier and Miss Roberts. The Sun newspaper reported that David Rogers said in a testimony released in August that Epstein, Andrew, and the then 17-year-old traveled to the U.S. Virgin Islands on April 11, 2001. This is called being credibly accused, okay, ABC News? This is being credibly accused. Not only is she accusing him, now the pilot is corroborating her version of events. Buckingham Palace describes the evidence statement as having a number of inconsistencies and said that Andrew was on a different continent in some cases. Okay, let's see the receipts. Following Epstein's death, a statement from the palace says that Andrew was appalled by the recent reports of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes. Breaking his silence on the issue for the first time since 2015, Andrew then releases a statement on August 24th, saying, "At no stage during the limited time I spent with Epstein, limited time, did I see, witness, or suspect any behavior of the sort that subsequently led to his arrest and conviction." You're such a liar. You're such a liar. On November 16th, the prince gave a disastrous BBC interview in which he spoke about his friendship with Epstein and addressed allegations of his own sexual conduct. He faced a barrage of criticism following his television appearance, with the royal accused of a lack of empathy with Epstein's victims. One of the first things I said on here, right? Where is the empathy for these girls? Even if you weren't involved at all, how could you not have empathy for what they went through? Only a sadistic, cold-minded lunatic doesn't have empathy for what they went through. During the interview, Andrew questioned the Newsnight presenter Emily Maitlis twice, stated his relationship with Epstein, who died in jail while facing sex trafficking charges, had some seriously beneficial outcomes. Really? You're the Prince of England again. I don't know how many times I have to say this. A Prince of England, and you're hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein because that's going to have beneficial outcomes for you? Yeah. How's it working out now? How's it working out now for you, Miss Cleo? Prince Nostradamus? Giving him the opportunity to meet people and prepare for a future role as a trade envoy. The Duke denied he slept with Virginia Roberts, one of Epstein's victims, on 3 separate occasions. Twice while she was underage, saying one encounter in 2001 did not happen, as he spent the day with his daughter Princess Beatrice, taking her to Pizza Express in Woking for a party. And another thing about that, what kind of sick SOB even uses their daughter in their cover story? What do you think, that gives you more credibility? Makes you look like more of a sociopath. The same alleged sexual liaison, which the Americans said began with the royals sweating heavily as they danced at London nightclub Tramp, was factually wrong, as the Duke said he had a medical condition at the time which meant he did not sweat. He cast doubt on the authenticity of a picture that appears to show Andrew with his arm around the waist of Miss Roberts as a teenager. All right, so here we are, folks. Here we are. We are embroiled deep in the middle of this right now, right? And it is it's consuming because there are so many different levels, so many layers to peel back. But it gives you hope, and it gives you maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel that maybe something will happen in this case. Maybe there really will be some real justice for once. When you see things like this happen, it's at the very least, it's them admitting he's made mistakes. And now, if the prosecutors are worth their weight in salt, they need to pounce on this right now. They need to request an interview with him, or at the very least, I hope Chuck Cooper is requesting this. Virginia Roberts' new lawyer. I hope he is, and with the kind of lawyer that he is, I would not be shocked if he is going hard in the paint right now with this case. Especially now. A guy like that smells blood in the water, forget about it. All right, folks, if you want to contact me, you can reach me at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com, BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to help support the show and you believe in what we're doing, you could go to the description box and click on the GoFundMe link and donate to the show. If not, please share with your friends, with like-minded individuals, and help get the word out there and help us continue to grow. I will be back later on tonight with our usual daily drop.